In this video, I take one of Gran Turismo's latest cars and show you guys how to earn over 1.6 million credits an hour using it. Not only that, but I take a massive risk on my last lap. But does it come off? Or do I end up looking like a complete muppet? And the car we're using is, of course, this one. The absolutely gorgeous Ferrari 430 Scuderia 2007 edition, and you will find this in the European section of Brand Central, and at only 380,000 credits it's an absolute bargain. And once you've bought the car, it's time to tune it, and well, there's not a lot to do there. Firstly, I suggest you head over to the custom shop, get yourself the front spoiler and the rear wing, and those are mainly so we can give ourselves some more downforce. Now, for the actual tuning, there isn't any. This car is that good, we're basically leaving it completely standard. The only real change is, of course, some racing medium tyres and both sets of wet weather tyres. Apart from that, we're just using her as is. So, let's get to the race. Now, the race we're doing is going to be the World Touring Car 700, which is at the Circuit de la Sarthe. You will find that particular race under the European section of World Circuits. And just before we get into the race, truly, if you guys would consider hitting that like button, it does really help out the channel. And also, why not hit that subscribe button, because that lets me know that you guys are enjoying the video. Anyway, let's get back to it. Now, as you start the race, one of the first things you're going to want to do is change your fuel mapping, and you want to change that to setting 3. That will give you the right amount of fuel usage for a 2-stop strategy. As for traction control, well, this car doesn't need it, at least not in the dry, so that's up to you depending on how comfortable you feel. One thing you'll notice about the Ferrari is it's quick. Okay, it's not Group 1 or VGT type quick, but it's still a very fast car. In fact, by the time you've completed just over half a lap, you're going to be up near the front of the pack, and most likely the leaders will be in sight. Not bad for a car that's had pretty much zero tuning. Now, even before you've completed the first lap, and assuming you don't make any mistakes, you are going to be in the lead of the race. Unlike me, who did make a mistake and gave away the lead of the race. But at least I was still near the front. And thanks to some really good driving and, okay, a little bit of nudging, I did manage to retake the lead, which hopefully you won't have to do. But like I said, before the end of the first lap, you are going to be in the lead of the race, and from then on, it's going to be fairly easy. So easy, in fact, that we're going to jump ahead to the end of lap 2, and the first of our pit stops. Now, if you look closely, you'll also see the windscreen wipers are on, because yes, it had just started to rain, which would time perfectly for us, because now tyre choice was easy. We go in with the intermediates. So, it's a quick change of tyres, and then make sure that you fill up fuel to the maximum. Once that's done, it's time to get back out onto the track. Now, you may have noticed that we've dropped a few places, but don't worry about that, because the guys that didn't stop are now on slicks, and it's raining, so overtaking them again is not going to be a problem. Unless, of course, you end up driving like a complete muppet. Now, I'd like to maybe blame the car for that one. Unfortunately, I can't. You see, it was raining and I'd forgotten to add a couple of ticks of traction control. So, I'll fess up to that one. It was me. And if we jump ahead now to the end of lap 3, you can see that the car ahead of us has come in for their pit stop, which means that we move back up into first place. Happy days. Now, at this point, we're actually going to jump ahead again towards the end of lap 4, where I'm sure you'd have noticed that the track seems to be drying out and the sun's coming out. So, as we're coming up now to our second pit stop, you may be tempted to think, I'm going to go on to slicks. But this is where I do emphasise always in this race, always keep an eye on my weather radar, because if you look now, you can see it's not drying out. In fact, the weather is going to get worse, a lot worse. So, as we come in to make our pit stop, as you may have noticed on my weather radar, there were patches of green, and green is very heavy rain. So this time it's not intermediates, we're going for the full wets. So tyres on, a full tank of fuel, and then back out onto the track. However, at this point, normally making a pit stop when you can see bad weather on the radar, you come out of the pits and the weather's here. Only now it still wasn't that wet. In fact, the sun was still out and the track didn't look very wet. And I was thinking I may have made a mistake, because if the track does dry out, there's no way the wets are going to do 2 laps. They'll just burn out too quickly. So I had no choice. I just had to go for it and hoped it rained a bit harder. And less than a quarter of a lap later, thankfully, it did, as you can see here by the dark green patches on the radar, which, as I said, dark green means heavy rain. But not only that, it's this little icon to the left here. Now, if you're not familiar with this basically shows you how much water is on the track, and if it's in the top section, the dark blue, well, that means, well, basically it's hissing it down, and you'd better be on the right tyres. And we were indeed on the right tyres. In fact, at this point of the race, we were so far ahead, it was beginning to get a little bit lonely. Now, that's partly due to the fact that we did make the right tyre choices at the right time, but it's also down to the fact that the Scuderia is a very good car. Almost too good, because we'll now just jump ahead to the last lap. And now that we're on lap 6, and hopefully our final lap of the race, you can see that things are looking good. The weather is better. Our lead is, well, quite frankly, huge. But unfortunately, that also gives me a bit of a dilemma. And for that, we'll just swap to the other view briefly. And herein lies my dilemma. Because, as you see, by the time I come towards the end of the race, we're going to have roughly 2 minutes of race time left. And I've also got a lead of roughly 2 minutes. So, do I do an extra lap, which I don't want to do, or do I pull up to the finish line and wait and keep my fingers crossed that the guys behind don't catch up and overtake me? And as we approach the pit entry, it's decision time. Come in or stay out? And I decide to stay out. And that's not quite as easy a decision as you might think, because now I've gone past the pits. I have no choice. I've got to stop and risk the 2 minute countdown. The trouble is, I don't have enough fuel to complete another lap. So if the cars behind catch and overtake, it doesn't matter how good the Ferrari is. I'm not going to beat them. I'm going to lose everything. And so the race was on. My countdown gamble versus the speed of the AI. And it was closer than I would have liked. But in the end, we did it. We crossed the finish line ahead of the pack. And that gives us a very nice first place finish. And more importantly, 825,000 credits in the bank. Not bad for half an hour's work. So, there you have it, the Ferrari 430 Scuderia. Definitely one worth trying out if you want to earn some credits in Gran Turismo 7. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. Not only do I really appreciate it, but it does also help out the channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. For more great videos like this one, follow this link. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.